You're listening to the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast, where we champion music of all genres, and we believe vinyl is king.
For a dying man, I feel pretty good, I feel pretty good. For a righteous man, I'll do what I should, do what I should. For a fallen man, I'll get up again, I'll get up again. For a dying man, I feel pretty good. Oh, we're born to trouble as the sparks fly high. Born to trouble as the sparks fly. It's alright. In the light, I see you glowing. It's alright. In the light, I see you glowing.
Welcome back to Season 2, and this is one of our smaller episodes called The 45. I'm David Williams, and I'm here with Rudy Newman.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Rudy. On our regular episodes, we are focused on one artist and album, and we usually have a guest host join the discussion. The 45 is our chance to introduce you to several new albums in a shorter format. So today we're going to tell you about all of our April records of the month. We have 6 styles that our subscribers can choose from each month: singer-songwriter, alternative rock, classic rock, jazz, soul, and blues, and discover. So for our 45 episode every month, it's nothing but an introduction to these 6 artists and albums that we have chosen for the B.T.R.C. Records of the Month. Whether or not you're a member of B.T.R.C., the 45 is a great way to get introduced to some new artists and discover some albums that you may not be familiar with. So Rudy, let's drop the needle and take a look at Blind Tiger Record Club's April Records of the Month. So our first style we are going to discuss is our singer-songwriter pick, and I'm really excited about this album. The album is Jade Birds' self-titled debut. This album is stacked with great songs. Bird is a British singer-songwriter, and she's only 21. She started performing live events in London while in high school. So she is very young, but she has been doing this for a while. Let's go ahead and play the most recent single, and get everybody familiar with Jade Birds.
She got you on your knees like a little boy. Everybody sees that you're just a little toy. She's got a bunch full to the daddy lollipop. She asks you if you love her and you nod and say, She wears short skirts so you don't ask her if you can check her phone. Talk about the guys at work so you feel ego-central. Like fancy cars and football teams, is she like continental? With a European accent, does she speak? Oh, so gentle. And it's none of my business, and I don't want to get involved if you're thinking that she's good. God no, she got you on your knees like a little boy. Everybody sees that you're just a little.
Man, I am just really excited about this record.
Yeah, that's a huge voice coming out of her.
It is, and so there are so many parts of this album that remind me of Patty Griffin's Flaming Red album. That album was Griffin's second and was produced by a very young Jay Joyce, who's obviously become a household name in the producer's world.
A favorite here.
Both Griffin and Joyce were relatively unknown, and that album has an amazing balance of these simple acoustic songs with these really powerful ones. Even had songs that I would categorize like rock songs, like one of her songs that was called Tony. And Jade Bird has these acoustic-driven guitar singer-songwriter styled songs, and then she unleashes that gritty, like really powerful voice.
Along with like a bombastic like chorus, she has the ability to rock out.
For real, there's a lot of the songs on this album I feel the same way, like they're really rock songs.
Yes.
But she's delivering them more in that, singer-songwriter vibe.
Yeah, until she explodes and you're like, oh, okay, hello.
Well, the last time that I thought an artist reminded me of Patty's Flaming Red album was the first time I heard Brandi Carlile on her debut release.
Oh, yeah.
And so again, like, to me, the connection here is you've got a vocal performer who has the ability to do the soft stuff, but when they go, it is just this amazing power that like puts goosebumps on your arms.
Yep. And then you couple that with like songwriting. it's one thing to have the voice, but like listen to the lyrical content of the song. She really is personally like, giving you like an insight into her personal life with the lyrics. It's not just like a standard, here's like a folk song. It's like these are reflective lyrics, from her personal life. I read that she actually wanted to be able to write this album like 100% on her own because of artists that she really respected, like Elliott Smith, who, they would write all their own songs. And she said that, the imperfections make a perfect album in the end. And I totally agree with that. I totally believe that.
This album has already had several singles that have already done well. She had a song "Lottery" that went number one on AAA format radio in 2018, and that's on this record. But the single went number one last year.
It's a great song.
The song we just played, went number 3 at the same format, and "I Get No Joy" is currently at number 18. So, this is on Glass Notes Records, and they really did a great job kind of setting up this album over the last year. So, she's pretty much been at AAA at this point for a full year, and now the album's coming out.
Yeah, it's perfect timing.
So, this is the singer-songwriter style choice for April, and if you pick this style this month, you're going to get a bonus album.
Bonus.
Yes, and this one's really cool. This is Jade Birds' 2017 EP.
So this is the debut of Jade Bird.
The real debut. This is her, it's just an EP, and it's pretty broken down in acoustic. It's called Something American. So I want to play the song Something American to kind of introduce this EP, and just remember, if you are a member or you want to be a member and you sign up and you pick this as your monthly selection, you're going to get both of these records for your pick.
But you don't call me now, and I don't think too much about you, but when she's not around, I can feel you lonely. Oh, I can feel you lonely somehow. I'm not nice like her, won't wear white like her, don't live life with the pages mapped out. No, I'm not perfect, but then no one is. We're all reaching for something American. You don't call me now, and I don't think too much about you, but when she's not around, I can feel you lonely. I can feel you all night in my dreams I find.
That's a really great EP. As we said, I mean, it's pretty acoustic, but it's an awesome set to get these two together, because the Glass Notes release, or self-titled debut on Glass Notes, like, that's full production.
Well, yeah. Well, you see like the what is the word I'm looking for?
Growth?
Yeah, the growth in the songwriting, like from acoustic, folky ballads to the full-on rock that's presented on the Jade Bird, self-titled.
Well, I will say this before we go to our next record. I am going to be shocked if this is not being talked about critically by the end of the year and on a lot of end-of-year lists. I just think this is going to be one that is going to swell once it comes out. I mean, she's already had these 3 singles, as we said. I don't know if there's going to be any more off this record, but I mean, it's literally just coming out. So
I could see this one getting some Grammys especially in the Americana category. For
sure, and even if it's not, like you and I've talked about artists like Lorde and people like that kind of come onto the scene, and as the year goes on, by the end of the year, I mean, Casey Musgraves did that last year. Like, nobody was talking about it as much when it first came out. By the end of the year, it was on every list, and then we got to Grammy season and it swept.
It blows up.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if it'll go that far. I just don't know. I mean, but I definitely think people are going to be talking about it. So, all right, well, let's switch to another style. Our rock record of the month is for April is the American Authors. The album is Seasons, and it's the band's 3rd release. The first single off this album was a standalone release that went to radio way back in 2017. The second single, Deep Water, was released May of 2018, and the album actually released on February 1st digitally and on CD. So the vinyl release is what's just coming out now in April. This album is anthemic from start to finish. This band has charted in the past on everything from rock to alternative to AAA, and even have had top 40 success. Mm-hmm. So, this band is always pretty pop, but I think this album's got more depth to me than any of their previous work. So
Yeah, I know they tried to dig into their 90s influences for this one. I read that they were digging in and trying to, pull from the Weezers and the Nirvana influences to really darken it a little bit.
What they did worked to me. I think it still has all of those elements that made them attractive at these formats in the first place. But now, to me, there's just greater depth on the songwriting, on everything. So let's go in and play Deepwater. That's the track that was released in the middle of last year. But let's go ahead and play that and introduce everybody to American Authors if they haven't heard them before.
It comes and goes in waves. It always runs back, but it's never quite the same. Well, I think there's something wrong with me. Got nothing to believe, can't you see it on my face? I was going for the title, got it by a tidal wave. Can't stay in the shallows, please tell me I won't wash away. When it pulls me under, will you make me stronger? Will you be my breath through the deep, deep water? Take me farther, give me one day longer. Will you be my breath through the deep, deep water? Deep water. Deep water. Ain't even scratched the surface.
So this record was recorded with producer Kason Cooley.
Yep.
Kason has worked with like Ingrid Michaelson. He's worked with Ben Rector and was also produced with Trent Dabbs, who has worked in the past with Casey Musgraves. So both of them are very established singer-songwriters in town in their own right as well. And they also co-wrote on 7 of the 10 tracks on this album. And they perform all over the album as well. And to be honest, in my opinion, Kason Cooley is probably one of the best producers in town, and he's pretty under the radar. So it was really enjoyable for me to kind of hear this project that he was a part of.
Yeah, you can really tell that it was like a team effort involved with the producers. I feel like they got the best out of American Authors on this one. They actually recorded this album right outside of Nashville in a cabin, and they called it Seasons because they got to see all 4 seasons in Tennessee, where, in Brooklyn, I guess they don't get to normally see like the seasons change as much. They're surrounded by
no
concrete.
Offense to everybody there,
No.
but it's kind of 2 seasons.
Yeah, the hot and then the cold.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
they actually have amazing falls and stuff. But yeah, no, that is cool. This record also has some really killer guest performances. Billy Rafool co-wrote and sings on the track "Say Amen," and Bear Reinhardt from Need to Breathe sings on the track "Neighborhood." So
I really like that one too.
Yeah,
that one's awesome.
It's great, and and this is definitely in that cat. Like you can kind of hear all of these artists. They're definitely
influences.
peers.
Yeah, and they're like that Neighborhood song is one where I feel like, because the theme of this record is like it's still offering up hope, but there is a little bit different delivery than American Authors had in the past. Like their stuff is more, brighter and joyous, like generally, but this one was a little bit darker, and I feel like you can hear it on Neighborhood in the lyrical delivery. Like it's just not quite as normal American Authors as what you normally hear.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that they have been at times pretty pop, and this to me, it's still that. It's just, but it's that in the good way. It's the anthemic stuff, but with the more meat on the bones to me. So that's the rock style for April. Next, let's talk about our alternative style choice, the Strumbellas Rattlesnake. So the Strumbellas have been pretty established in Canada for a while.
It's a Toronto band.
Yes, they were nominated for a Juno in 2013, and they won in 2014. But it wasn't until 2016 when Glassnote, this is another Glassnote release, but when Glassnote picked up the band that they really kind of popped with the album Hope and the smash hit Spirits. That album peaked at number 98 on Billboard 200. It was number 3 in Canada, and Spirits went number 1 alternative, number 3 on AAA, and number 21 on Top 40. So, the album just blew up from there. It had another single that did pretty well, which was We Don't Know. And a ton of sync placements. Like there were a lot of movies where, Spirits especially.
I was about to say, these guys are no stranger to sync placements.
Yes, yeah. The first single off the new album, Rattlesnake, is a song called Salvation. So let's play some of that and just kind of, if you are familiar with them, it'll just introduce you to this new record. If this is the first time you've heard them, it's going to be a great way to introduce the band to you.
I like to dance under street lamps and walk upon the clouds. I like to shout from the rooftops and surf on top of the crowd. For many years, I was scared of the person I was. And I'm not perfect, they say, but I know that I was born to be loved. Hey, will they love me now? Hey, now, kid, you're my salvation. Just put it all out, don't let your head down. All my life, they never told me. They never said that it'd ever be so hard. I like to spend all my money on things that I don't need.
I freely admit that I loved Hope. So
Okay.
I've been really into this record since we got it.
This is a safe place. You
Yes.
can admit that in
so
here.
Salvation currently is at radio, and so far it's peaked at number 22 on Alternative, and it's number 16 on AAA, at least at the time we're recording this. To me, this album is just plain uplifting. I love everything about the last album, and to me, Rattlesnakes continues on with that feeling of like, kind of like we've been talking about with American authors, like this. They're very anthemic.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the
Oh, yeah.
same kind of techniques are used here, but for me, this album is so like just uplifting and feel good. I have nothing to complain about with this record.
Yeah, most definitely. They definitely write songs. I read that their whole dream, this was a quote, "Our whole dream has been to make cool small town music with just a fun poppy feeling. Every record we do, we get closer to that. Salvation is exactly what we wanted to do, what we were hoping to get out of this song and record. Fun poppy songs that are sad and weird."
That sums it up great.
Wrapped
They're fun, they're poppy, they're for almost any age group. I mean, this is literally just like good fun music.
Yes.
And I don't say that to like not
Take
take
away
it
from
seriously.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'll be honest, like I think critics are going to probably ignore this album, but they shouldn't. And you shouldn't if you're listening, because it is a serious record. It's just fun. And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with singing about hope and joy.
yeah. So, this album is in a limited edition teal green, and it's alternative style for April. So let's switch styles again. Let's talk about Barbara Howard and our Jazz Soul Blues record of the month. If you have never heard of Barbara Howard, I would say that's more than understandable.
Yeah, don't be sad
Yeah.
or concerned.
So kind of the story behind this record is in 1968, following the Cincinnati riots, a guy named Steve Reese developed a program in the city called Operation Step Up. It targeted inner city youth with musical talents for the purpose, to actually just expose them to their own community. The program had more than 1,500 young artists involved, and a lot of politicians got involved. They even did a big event that was even attended by James Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So this led Reese to start a label known as SR Records. And it's not the same. There is another bigger SR Records, but he had one called SR Records. And in 1969, he recorded one of these artists, and it was Barbara Howard. So let's just introduce everyone to her voice. This is Barbara singing a song called My Song.
You told me that you would leave me here in tears. Now you're gone and hours seem like years. And darling, I sing my song.
So that's my song.
Yeah, Steve actually started that label specifically for Barbara Howard and only released her music on it. It only lasted like a little bit more than a year and a half, but they did end up getting married at the end of all that. So not a terrible story, you know?
Yeah.
The record label might not have lasted, but their love did.
Yeah. And the event, I think, did a lot for their community at the time as well. And that's why I think it got so much fanfare. But they, you know, this album didn't really do that much back in 1969. It's a pretty rare soul album. And the only reason that we're even hearing about it is because Coal Mine Records dusted off a copy of it and ended up reissuing it. So
they knew that there was something here.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the bottom line is if you're a fan of early soul music, then you'll love this record.
And if you want to hear a soul cover of The Doors, Light My Fire.
Yep, that's one of the tracks.
You should probably check into this record.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not, you know, Rudy and I were even talking about this off mic, like it's not the cleanest record. Like it's not, some parts of it even feel like it's a little bit sloppy, but it works. And because it's not some big label produced thing.
Yeah, and it's not like one of those things where it's like you have to forgive the, you know, quality. Like it's all part of the package.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's really enjoyable record. And that's Barbara Howard, and that's our Jazz Soul and Blues choice for April. So let's go on to classic rock. So our classic rock record for April is Kiss and their album Kissworld, The Best of Kiss. Exactly. Where do you start with Kiss?
Oh, Kiss. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of them.
So Kiss is on their farewell tour called the End of the Road Tour. It has 4 legs and it runs through the end of the year. So to go along with the tour, the band released Kissworld, The Best of Kiss. You know, we've talked about this before. Is like I think Greg mentioned one time when we were talking about one of our classic rock releases. It may have been Kansas or someone. He was like, "Man, you'd have to be living under a rock to not have heard this." But
guess what?
Some people haven't. So let's go ahead and we're going to play a little bit of Rock and Roll All Night. And here's Kiss.
You show us everything you got. You keep on dancing and the room gets hot. You drive us wild, we'll drive you crazy. You say you wanna go for a spin. The party's just begun, we'll let you in. You drive us wild, we'll drive you crazy. You keep on shouting, you keep on shouting. I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day. I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day. I wanna rock and roll all night.
So this album is completely stacked. It's a double LP, 140 gram weight vinyl. It has 20 tracks spanning the band's entire career. It has iconic fan favorites such as I Was Made for Loving You and Rock and Roll All Night, God Gave Rock and Roll to You. It also has top 10 U.S. charts hits like Beth and Detroit Rock City.
Everything.
Yeah, Kiss isn't the easiest band to collect either. They have a fairly large collection, and to be honest, many of the titles are really hard to find. One great thing about this record is because it does span such a large part of this career, it's kind of a great way to have the essentials on vinyl. So even if you collect Kiss and you're into Kiss, like there may be missing records, and this might be a way for you to have some of those songs. But if you're a casual Kiss fan and you're not going to go and buy the whole collection,
It's a great way to wrap up 45 years of Kiss history
Exactly.
in one LP. Or in 2, I guess.
Yeah, and on that note, I will also mention that we also this month, we have 2 Kiss packages that we're launching in our collector series. The second bundle that we have in our collector series is the 77 to 80 limited edition book and album collection. So this has the newly released book called Kiss 77 to 80, and it's basically the definitive photographic chronicle of Kiss at the height of their popularity. It was done by Lynn Goldsmith, who photographed a ton of rock musicians in the late 20th century. She's done the Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, the Police, Talking Heads, Bob Dylan, Patti Smith, many others. And so you get the book. It also includes Dynasty from 79 and Unmasked from 1980. So you basically get every album from 77 to 80 that goes along with the limited edition book. And so it's a great collector series, and both of those are available this month along with our classic rock choice of the month, which is Kissworld. All right, our last style is our Discover style, and the pick this month is Damon Johnson, Memoirs of an Uprising. Even if you don't think you know Damon Johnson, you probably have heard some of the bands that he's fronted. In the 1990s, Damon co-founded Brother Kane, and they released 3 albums. They had 6 top 15 mainstream rock singles, with 3 going number 1. The song In Full Shine On was number 1 for 6 weeks in 1995. This band toured really heavy and supported acts like Van Halen, Aerosmith, Robert Plant, Leonard Skinner, and Candlebox. But the band had a relatively short lifespan, and after Brother Kane, Johnson was the lead guitarist for John Waite from 2001 to 2003, and then he joined Alice Cooper from 2004 to 2011. He was the lead guitarist and co-writer for Black Star Riders from 2012 to 2018. Black Star Riders is basically Thin Lizzy. They wanted to record under a new name and keep Thin Lizzy in its kind of classic,
leave the brand where it was.
Leave the brand as it existed, just to
With
even
Phil
to honor
Lynott,
past members, and all that. And so, because there's a real rich history with that band, and so everything that they did new, they were doing under Black Star Riders. So Damon Johnson has really had a deep history in music that ranges from alternative rock in the 90s to kind of classic rock, and that's pretty much where this record lives. It has hints of the Brother Kane sound mixed in with a deep classic rock sound that really kind of creates this unique experience for the listener. And I actually really enjoy this record. Let's go ahead and listen to the first single off the album.
I can tell I'm out of range. I can tell things are different. She's got a way that I can't explain. Something's got me all shivering. I'm hearing voices, my directions change. To know it's unsettling. How did I drift away? Out here in space, the space between the lines. Space, it blurs my mind. Has me saying things, doing things that I know ain't right. The way we intertwine keeps us mesmerized.
That song was called Shivering Shivering, and that is the first single off the album.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of what you're going to get with Damon. Riffs for days. Every single song on this record has a unique riff or a really, really amazing solo somewhere in it. And like solos that don't just like blend into, oh, that guy can really play guitar. Like they have unique, very cool, like points in them where you're like, oh wow, this guy is a master of his craft.
Yeah. Well, and if you can't tell from the artists that he's toured with and recorded for, he's clearly an extremely respected guitarist and songwriter.
Yes.
He's contributed to albums by artists like Sammy Hagar, Queensryche. He even played on Faith Hill's huge hit, Cry. Which was, originally was performed by Angie Aparo, but then when Faith Hill did it, it became this monster hit. And that's Damon playing. He played both acoustics and electric on that song. But he's also co-written. Like he's briefly joined other bands, like Damn Yankees and Ted Nugent. He co-wrote on a song called Every Day with Stevie Nicks on one of her albums.
Very awesome.
And then a song called Just Feel Better with Carlos Santana. That was one of the albums where he had a lot of guest performers coming in to do the vocals.
Oh, yeah.
And so Steven Tyler actually sang vocal on that song, but that's
Wow.
Damon playing guitar. This is just, one of these artists that is in many cases kind of there, even though you don't know it. He's just been in a lot of stuff that a lot of us are familiar with, and now he's kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah, he's like the handyman,
Yeah.
for bands when they need something fixed.
And-
Damon
and
will come
trust
in
me,
and fix it.
Artists like this do not call people like him unless they're the best of the best.
Yep.
So he really is legitimately a guitar extraordinaire and a great songwriter. And it's just a really fun record if you kind of know what you're getting here. I mean, it's a really enjoyable album.
Yeah.
The one that we have is a limited edition red vinyl that Damon came into the office and signed for us. So they're extremely limited. So this is our discovery record for April. Sign up for this one and you're going to get the autographed album for your pick of the month. All right, well, those are our record of the month picks for April. If you want to find out more, head to blindtigerrecordclub.com and go to the homepage, and you can read more about all the records we talked about on this show. So until next time, keep the wax spinning.